WWE is gonna WWE no matter what the fans chant, tweet, or say in signs. You could have stadiums booing their golden boy out of the building, or social media melting down with perfectly reasonable alternatives, but the company will still try to convince you that this is the story they meant to tell. They'll ignore organic crowd favorites and ride a doomed push into the ground like it's a Roman chariot. See what we did there? But every now and then the crowd gets too loud, the signs get too savage, and the chants are too undeniable, and suddenly, WWE swerves like they planned it all along. You see? They'll say, gaslighting us through gritted teeth. That was always the story. Sure, pal. Whatever you say. I'm Senior Siete for 7 Wrestling. Let's take a look at 7 times the fans forced WWE to change course. Now, before we get into that, we appreciate your support, so if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and Superman punch that notification bell. Also, we've got a second channel. Check out 7 Entertainment, all the snarky snark you love from 7 Wrestling, with a broader range of topics, TV, movies, music, you name it. Head over there now to see me, your buddy Senior Siete, co-hosting a video about celebrities who have dated professional wrestlers. Number 1. The truth hurts. Screw it. Let's start off with the most recent example, and the reason we made this whole list. When the WWE fired R-Truth in June of 2025, felt less like a business decision and more like accidentally deleting a system file and realizing too late that the whole program doesn't run without it. Sure, he's not main eventing WrestleMania or cutting 10-minute blood feud promos, but R-Truth has been the company's comedic backbone for over a decade. Letting him go was like removing the ice cream machine from a McDonald's. I mean, you don't always see it or need it, but you appreciate it when it works. Naturally, fans didn't take the news well. Social media lit up with a kind of righteous fury, usually reserved for booking disasters. In a world full of forced catchphrases and overly scripted promos, people genuinely missed someone who was just unapologetically, delightfully unhinged. So, WWE, ever the reactive parent trying to unground your favorite cousin after a family meltdown, quietly rehired Truth like nothing happened. And his reinduction was just as shocking. It'd have been easy to just have him show up at Raw, say he was confused about being fired and dropping a "my bad," but instead, he interfered in a pay-per-view main event to the loudest pop of the night, and then reintroduced himself as a serious contender with his actual name, Ron Killings, a few nights later. And we can't wait to see what he does next. Number 2. Lex Express Excess. WrestleMania 9 should have been Bret Hart's coronation, young champion, crowd favorite, the guy actually putting in the work, while the rest of the roster figured out exactly what this new era of wrestling was going to look like. And most of all, first WrestleMania main event ever without Hulk Hogan being involved. But, nah. Instead, Hulk Hogan sauntered in, political stroke at the ready, and stole the title in a bonus match nobody asked for. It was less a passing of a torch and more like someone throwing the torch into a dumpster and yelling, "Gotta get that payday, brother." So what did Vince do after screwing over the guy the fans were actually behind? Well, he went all in on Lex Luger. Vince slapped an American flag on him, gave him the world's most awkward babyface tour bus, and declared him the next Hogan. Here's the thing, you can't force feed a guy as the next big thing, and the audience is clearly saying, hey, we still kind of like Bret. Then came the 1994 Royal Rumble, where it seemed like Vince was starting to realize that Lex wasn't the guy. He had both men tumble out of the match at the same time, then allowed the announcers to take turns, declaring each man as the winner, and surprise, surprise, they didn't want Lex the Pecs, they wanted the pink and black. Bret Hart split the win with Luger at the Rumble, but the writing was on the wall. WrestleMania 10 delivered the payoff. Bret beats Yokozuna clean, finally getting his big moment, and stood tall while Lex Luger got to use his famous muscles to lift Bret up in front of the adoring crowd. Ironically, the WWE would have a similar conundrum exactly 20 years later. Number 3. Say yes to the mess. In mid-2013, the WWE fans were begging, no screaming, for Daniel Bryan to be the guy. He had the in-ring skills, the underdog charisma, and a chant so infectious it was breaking out in professional sports stadiums. Naturally, the WWE responded to this groundswell of support by constantly screwing Bryan out of the world title and giving his yes chant to the Big Show. because when fans rally behind a scrappy 5'8" workhorse with a decade of indie cred, the obvious move is to give the catchphrase to a 7-foot giant who looks like he should be guarding a beanstalk. And just to twist the knife, they shoved Bryan into the Wyatt family in a move that made zero sense beyond trolling the audience. One week he's the hottest act in the company, the next he's rocking a mechanic's jumpsuit and standing in the background while Bray Wyatt monologues about swamp demons. But when Bryan finally rebelled and ripped off that jumpsuit in a steel cage, cue the roof blowing off of the joint. Fans didn't just cheer, they lost their friggin' minds, like someone hit the undo button on WWE's terrible creative choices. Then came the piece de resistance, the 2014 Royal Rumble. No Bryan, not even an appearance, just poor Batista doing all the things that good babyfaces do and getting mercilessly booed like he just canceled Christmas. And this was to set up a main event between he and Randy Orton at WrestleMania? CM Punk walking out of the company the next day only amplified the chaos. Faced with mutinous fans and a card that seemed woefully out of touch, WWE finally cracked and reshuffled the deck. Suddenly, Bryan was getting promo time, main event storylines, and ultimately, the WrestleMania 30 payoff, beating Triple H and winning the main event in one night. It was a triumph for the fans, a vindication for Bryan, and a lesson WWE keeps learning the hard way. If you ignore the people for too long, eventually, they're going to make it tap out. Ironically, the WWE, say it with me, would have a similar conundrum exactly 10 years later. Number 4. World's Worst Final Boss. The WWE spent an entire year teeing up Cody Rhodes to finish the story at WrestleMania 40. He had the sympathetic backstory, the absurdly well-fitted suits, the crowd chanting his every word like it was gospel, and a bloodline storyline so juicy it practically booked itself. It was obvious, almost too obvious, but sometimes obvious is the right move. Stone Cold should have pulverized Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 14. But in a masterclass of missing the point, Dwayne main character Syndrome Johnson showed up, decided he was finally ready to face Roman Reigns, and all of a sudden, Cody was getting respectfully nudged out of the title picture. It was like telling your friend the birthday cake was for them and then watching your rich cousin show up, blow out the candles, and then be like, hey, don't worry, next one's for you. Fans weren't having it, they booed, they chanted, we want Cody so loudly you could hear it over The Rock's $1 million soliloquies, and they made it crystal clear this wasn't his story to finish. WWE, backed into a corner by the very people they pretended to listen to, did the unthinkable. They actually listened. They course-corrected, The Rock turned heel, and Cody Rhodes finally got his WrestleMania moment. Of course, reports have it that The Rock wanted to turn Cody heel so they could face off at WrestleMania the following year, despite that not making any narrative or financial sense. And when the WWE creative team balked, like they should have, Rock shook things up, then promptly went home. Number 5. Ride or Die. Zack Ryder's rise to the top wasn't WWE's idea, it was ours. In an era when WWE still thought going viral meant someone sneezing near Vince, which you know he hates, Zack Ryder took matters into his own hands and launched Z, True Long Island Story, on YouTube. It was goofy, low budget, and endearingly desperate. Fans loved it. While WWE was busy force-pushing bland baby faces, Ryder was fist-pumping his way into the hearts of the internet with headbands, catchphrases, and more charisma than half the roster combined. Naturally, the WWE's response was to pretend he didn't exist. He was getting huge pops in arenas, we want Ryder chants, we're hijacking shows, and the man was literally trending on Twitter every Monday night. But Vince and crew clutched their pearls and said, he got over without our permission? Unacceptable. So after months of ignoring the phenomena, they finally had no choice but to accept it when The Rock made his first in-ring return in years at Survivor Series 2011, and while the People's Champ stood in the ring, the New York crowd still chanted for Ryder. The WWE threw the fans a bone and gave Ryder a short-lived push, complete with a feel-good US title win at TLC 2011. Cue the confetti, cue the YouTube celebration, Zack had made it. And then they immediately threw him in the dumpster, figuratively and later almost literally. Within weeks, he was being used as comic relief in a love triangle with Eve Torres and John Cena. He lost the title, got no retribution, was basically told to smile and keep selling merch. WWE made an example out of him. This is what happens when you get over without our script. Fans wanted Ryder to get a push, and the push he got was from Kane off of a ramp. And yet, he still managed to win the Intercontinental title at WrestleMania 32 years later, only to lose it the very next night because, of course he did. Number 6. Ladies first. It was a tag team match featuring the Bella Twins versus Paige and Emma on the February 23rd, 2015 episode of Monday Night Raw that lit the fuse for the amazing women's matches we see today. The tag match lasted a whopping 26 seconds, not even enough time to microwave a Hot Pocket, let alone tell a story. Fans took to Twitter, #GiveDivas trended, and even WWE's Vince McMahon, or his social media intern, responded with the now famous tweet, "We hear you, keep watching," which is corporate for, "Ah crap, is this going to be a thing now?" The official narrative is that the tweet sparked a brave new era where NXT's women wrestlers like Charlotte Flair, Sasha Banks, and Becky Lynch were finally called up to change the game. Stephanie McMahon even started popping up in promos to declare herself the feminist messiah of the WWE, because of course she did. WWE loves a good redemption arc, especially if it makes them look like the heroes in a story where they were the villain for literally decades. But let's be real, the Divas Revolution wasn't born out of WWE suddenly gaining a conscience. It was dragged into existence by public outcry, indie wrestling credibility, and the undeniable fact that the women at NXT were putting on better matches than half the roster. The company tried to slap a hashtag and a slogan on it like they were the ones that came up with the idea, but anyone paying attention knew the truth. Fans demanded better. The women earned better, and WWE got peer pressured into finally acting like it was 2015 instead of 1998. Progress with a side of revisionist history. Oh well, at least it's still progress. Number 7. Becky Twoface. Vince McMahon had a vision, a wildly out-of-touch vision where Charlotte Flair was the heroic babyface and Becky Lynch was the ungrateful backstabber. You saw it all the time with Hulk Hogan. Why wouldn't it work? Like a million years later, you got Charlotte, the genetically superior multi-time champion with the Ric Flair pedigree, supposed to be the shining example of sports entertainment royalty, who seemingly takes long breaks only to immediately be inserted back into the women's title program. Meanwhile, Becky, she was supposed to be the jealous BFF who turned on her more successful friend because she was an ungrateful goon. Unfortunately for Vince, the crowd looked at the story and was like, wait, whoa, who are we supposed to boo again? Becky Lynch attacked Charlotte at SummerSlam 2018 and was immediately met with the kind of pop that would make Stone Cold raise an eyebrow. The fans didn't see a heel, they saw someone who finally snapped after getting constantly overlooked in favor of the WWE's chosen Nepo Queen. WWE kept trying to pipe in boos and crank Charlotte's heroism up to 11, but it was like trying to put a fire out with gasoline. Every week, Becky got more popular, the cheers got louder, and Vince doubled down on trying to convince us that clearly the fans were confused. They'd have Becky diss the fans, back away from fights, all the classic heel shtick, but that shtick did not stick. Eventually, WWE had to just wave the white flag and let Becky run with it. The man was born, and the supposed villain of the story became the most overact in the company, complete with broken noses, Twitter barbs, and 2 titles raised high at WrestleMania 35. Well, there's our list. Did I leave out any other times the fans forced WWE to change course? If so, please leave them in the comments section below. Also, if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and disarmor that notification bell. Be sure to check out our new Channel 7 Entertainment that's kicking off with a video that features celebrities who dated WWE superstars. Until next time, I'm Singer Siete for 7 Wrestling saying bye-bye.